My legacy is saying, how do you take this to the next level? How do you find your why or take your why or passion and give it back? If it's not to the military, it's to somebody else where you say, I want to do something. How do I do more? That's where we've started, right?
That's beautiful, Katie.
We've grown it to something.
I love this.
If everybody starts somewhere, could you imagine what we could do with the world?
Welcome to another episode of Relentlessly Resilient, presented by Minky Couture, a weekly podcast where people share real-life experiences and the tools they've developed to move forward and live their best lives.
And thanks to our sponsor, Minky, we love their blankets as a gift. We love those blankets in a time of need. And stay tuned later today. We're going to talk about where Minky stepped up big time for military expectant mothers. 6 locations in Utah, or find them at minkycouture.com.
I'm Michelle Scharf.
And I'm Jenny Taylor, and we are excited to be here today in the KSL studios with my good friend, Kati Calhoun. Hi, Katie.
Hi, Jenny. Hi, Michelle.
Hi.
So I met Katie through some military service to military families, and we'll get into the story a little bit in a while, but she now sits on the board of the Major Brent Taylor Foundation with me. She is a mover and a shaker, and I tell people all the time I would never want to cross her because she is a force of nature, and we're just grateful you would join us today. Katie, can you introduce yourself a little bit?
You bet. Thank you. My name is Kati Calhoun. I am, I would say, a 21-year military wife. I've been married to my amazing husband for 18 years. He is an Air Force veteran, still serving. And we have a unique history. We were active duty for several years, and then we decided that Utah was the place we wanted to put our roots in. And so then we joined the 419th Reserve and have
So
stayed.
you went from the full-time for how many years?
8 years.
8 years in active duty, and now the second half has been reserve. We would call that part-time. A lot of people are familiar with the Guard or the Reserve, where you have a day job and you're in the military also.
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
And then I've worked a couple different jobs. I did property management for about 15 years. And then the last joy of my life, really, that I'm in right now is I've worked in the grocery business. So I am the vice president of marketing for Kent's Market. We have a 4-store chain up in northern Utah, which is incredible, nestled into the hearts of Utah's incredible communities.
Yeah. And right next to Hill Air Force Base for several of those. And your clients at the grocery store might also be among the families that you serve in the military. So let's jump right into this. Katie, tell us about your family and kids. Sorry, one more detail.
Absolutely. I have 2 beautiful children. I have London, who is she's 12, almost 13. And then I have Sydney, who is 5.
Okay, so two beautiful little girls, and you work in the grocery business, and you're going to tell us really quickly, Katie, what does resilience mean to you?
To me, resilience means overcoming adversity, but also passing on what I've learned to other spouses. For the last 15 years, I have been a key spouse, or we call it now a key liaison. And that in the Air Force is giving back and helping other families. And I didn't really have that in the very beginning when we joined the military. There wasn't that person around. And so we had our struggles in the very beginning. And then on a deployment, I would say a 2016 deployment, and we encountered some hard times. London was age 5 and Cliff was in Afghanistan, and we encountered some hard times. And I learned that I needed help. And in that, I wanted to be the person that helped in any way I possibly could.
So let me know, when you're talking about hard times, financial, emotional, marital, what kind of hard times are you talking about?
Emotional. And actually, that was our 10-year anniversary, and that was a struggle on a marital side. Yeah. So we had encountered several deployments beforehand. We actually waited to have children for quite a while because in the military, you don't go into the military to make money. And when we were active duty, we struggled quite a bit. And so we chose to make sure that we were in a position. I had a good job, because nobody employs military wives when you move a lot. I had come from Idaho to Vegas, and then my husband deployed from Vegas. And then I was on my own, and then we upped and moved again to Utah. And so my background, people were like, oh, military wife, and we were active duty. You're going to move in 3 years. We're not sure we want to employ you. And so I had to take a very low paying job. My husband was a young staff sergeant, and it was a struggle, right? So that was a reason that we held off on having children. And then he had deployed a few times. And then he came home in 2010 from an Afghanistan deployment. And we decided that we wanted to have children. He went back to Afghanistan in 2016. And it was a little bit more difficult. I think we were reliving what he experienced in 2010 as some possible PTSD, but also just overall experiences. And I think for me as a wife, I wasn't sure what we were going to encounter. You think what in your mind what you get when they come home and you hear about all the stories, and then now he's off again. So London was 5.
And especially now you've got a child,
Right.
which is a different dynamic than when you're just two adults facing the risks or the worry or the separation. Yeah.
So the 2010 deployment, I did all on my own. The 2016 deployment, I at that point had a 5-year-old, and it was a rougher time, I guess you could say. You understand that. Like we were hard on deployments. I was a key spouse, and I was dealing with lots of different overcomes from different families.
So not only your own stress, but you're helping to kind of manage the families of the others that are deployed.
Right. Yeah. And London had picked up, and I think part of it was at preschool, but also within the engagement, they always tell you to not watch the news, but you're watching the news, you're engaged. And she had picked up and had, in some way or form, that daddies don't come home.
Ooh.
And it was awful. I'm not going to lie. I have beautiful pictures of him in the airport in January of 2016. And she stopped wanting to have engagement with him. So he would call, and as a military member, they're off serving, right? And they're serving a mission. So when they call and they want to talk to you, you want to give them everything you can possibly give them. So I try to fill the bucket for him so that life is good at home, because you don't want them to think that life is not good at home.
Right.
Because again, you need to keep them in the right mentality that while they're off serving a
Right.
mission.
They need to be focused on the mission.
Right.
Yeah.
So he would want to engage with London, and for a little bit she'd engage, but then she wouldn't. There would be times where she wanted nothing to do with him. I had pictures on the wall. We had countdowns on the wall. We made a cute little jar of Hershey's Kisses that she opened every night that was a kiss from daddy. You know, those different things. But she had shut down. So by the time he came home, his engagement was totally changed. His focus was not on me. He had more of an anger, frustration issue because this little girl that was his entire life, he left to serve his country, and he comes home and she wants nothing to do with him. So it was a struggle for us. I mean, we put our marriage on the side. I put my marriage on the side so that he could focus on his relationship with her. And we did. We encountered a few bumps and bruises through that way. But that's where I learned I had to give back. I had to help in some way to find the resources, or help give the resources to let families know that it's okay. Because when I would call home and talk to family, they don't understand. I don't understand. What, Katie, what are you not understanding? Like, what are you not doing for your child? This wasn't anything of not doing for my child.
Because your family didn't have the military background to really understand the context.
Right. And we don't have family here.
Yeah.
So then you rely on your friends, and your friends are like, well, we're not understanding. So you had to rely on relationships within friends that were military, and some of them understood and some of them didn't. And
some of them can be toxic too. I mean, I imagine you've seen that, where some of the military families I know are some of the strongest, most resilient, amazing people I've ever met. And there's a lot of bitterness and toxicity in some too, to where it can be, some of those relationships could be more harmful than helpful. Depending.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Absolutely.
This is the conversation we never hear.
Yeah.
That we, as somebody who's as a civilian woman, it's just not been my knowledge base. My sister's husband was in the service, and they went to Germany, and she had a life of that for quite some time. But for me, it's like, it's so removed from like all of the challenges.
It's just foreign.
It's just foreign.
It is.
It's just hard to understand.
And
Well,
Katie,
and it's
that's
not
kind of
like-
what motivated you, right?
Right.
To do what you're doing to help it be less foreign to others.
Well, and be the listening ear. So I believe, as being a key spouse, I believe in being that ear. So I tell every family, every spouse, you saw that when I engaged with them when we did a baby shower. I don't care who you are. I don't care the rank. I don't care the branch. You can be guard. We don't have to be the same, but we are all in it together. And I think that just having a listening ear that says, okay, I understand, so that when your spouse is gone, but even when your spouse is not gone, or your partner, that you have a listening ear, because sometimes you just need somebody to talk to. Like, I mean, I can't tell you, it is, I say it's the military curse for every deployment from I think every appliance in my life broke, from a water heater,
100%. It all goes downhill
flooding
fast.
the basement, to dishwashers, to fridges.
I've heard these stories
has
before.
nothing on deployment, I promise you.
Nothing. And so I think it's that engagement to know that you're frustrated, but again, you don't want to tell your member, because your member doesn't want to have that mindset to think,
And the last thing
The
you want
world's
is for
falling
him or her to
apart.
be distracted while in a
Absolutely.
dangerous environment.
right.
Yeah.
But you have a sense of pride, right? You don't want your friends or your family to think that you can't keep it together while your spouse is gone.
I'm only laughing because I really struggled with that with Brent's 2011, 2012 Afghanistan deployment. I had in my head, I had to do this. I had to do this and I had to be great at it. And there was no one I needed to ask for help because I shouldn't have needed help. I mean, I was in a bad spot. That's what broke me to where I maybe learned to ask for help, maybe learned to let other people in. And that's hard. That is really hard, especially because the military is kind of by nature, and it's almost forced resilience, right? And it's elective. Nobody forced us into the military. So anytime I felt compelled to maybe complain or voice a concern, I would almost feel guilty, like, well, we chose this, so I should be able to do this. And okay, I can talk myself into being stronger and better and more capable. When in reality, I just needed to not be alone. I needed help.
So I'm with you. I mean, I had a military wedding, right? I raised my hand. I felt like the day I married my husband and said, I am joining this life, and I promise to you that as long as you're in this life, I'm giving it to you. And obviously, I don't want to let him down by any means. And so my breaking point actually wasn't 2010. My breaking point was 2016, when I had a child and I didn't know, and I couldn't let family know or friends know that I needed help or I couldn't do it, right? Because I had that badge of honor. I had that strength on. I was his wife,
You're the
and I
key
was going to
spouse.
do
You
it.
got this.
Right.
Yeah.
And I didn't. I mean, I will tell you, I have the best mother-in-law in the world. I love my mother-in-law, Rita, more than life itself, because if I needed anything, I could pick up the phone and call her. And at that time, she was a full-time RN hospital nurse. And so she would rush down if I needed her at a heartbeat where she could fit it in. But
So she's local.
no, she's in Idaho.
Oh,
so all
she
of
would-
our family
okay.
is in Idaho. We don't.
Both of your families.
Yeah, we
Okay.
are born and raised in Idaho. And so we didn't have family here. Our family, we always say, is our family are our friends, because you do. In the military, you develop that relationship. And so I think that was it. So my thought was, how do I help wives going forward, or spouses or partners, be that person where you could always have somebody to call on? And then it's just kind of evolved from there. I've evolved my life. But I wanted to be, my resiliency story is not only showing through adversity, but also helping others build that resiliency, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
This is
You
what I
can-
love about you so much.
You can pick up the phone. Like, I love to share that I have some incredible military spouses that are incredible, or partners that can pick up the phone and say, you know what, I want to do more. How do I do more? How do I be more? How do I listen? And so we grow and we role play and we say, okay, this is where we start. This is where I started. This is where you can go. And I think, you know, the Air Force has a new direction. The 419th, Colonel Sloma has been incredible about developing resiliency, especially now more than ever. In our direction. And so that's my goal, is looking at all of our key volunteers, key spouses, but families in general, and saying, here's what we have, but let's work together and take care of each other. It doesn't matter if you're CE or if you're maintenance, or
And like you said, it's not a matter of rank or time in
No.
service. It just family in general. If you need it, we're here to help.
absolutely. And I think it's sharing that communication, because we all wear the same role, right? We're all military spouses. Like, I have a unique bond with you because we are military spouses, but it's sharing the story to Michelle, of saying, this is who we are and this is what you could be. A lot of people say, how do I do more? How do I be more to the military? How do I give back
And
more?
they don't know where to start.
And they don't know where to start.
Okay, so I want to know, tell us where your grocery world intersects with this passion for helping military families, because this was one of the first things that I ever worked with you on.
Oh, this is a passion of mine, and it's just grown.
Exploded is a better
It has
word.
exploded. So I had the opportunity about 3.5 years ago. Operation Homefront was very small in Utah. They just did
And tell us a little about them. I bet a lot of our listeners have never heard of them.
If you ever want to be a part of, besides a local military foundation, I mean, I love everything about the Major Brent Taylor Foundation, the localness about it. But on a national level, that actually caters side by side to the Major Brent Taylor Foundation is Operation Homefront. It was started back in 2001 by amazing women that wanted to help military families right after 9/11 that were deploying. It's grown to so much more than that. They have a mission that's build strong, stable, secure military families that can not only just thrive in the communities that they live in, but they're helping to build as well. And I think that's what I love about that foundation is that, and they offer critical financial assistance. I didn't realize the resources they had until about 3.5 years ago, where if military families are in need, they can get online and apply and tell their story and get some help. If that's paying rent or paying a car bill, or maybe you had an appliance go down, you can't afford it because you're living tight paychecks, then they're there to help. But they also offer amazing other programs. They have a veteran housing program, but they have meals, holiday meals for the military. They have a Star Spangled Baby program for baby showers for military families. And that's where it started. It started with Meals for the Military. They reached out to Associated Foods and said, hey, we want to do a really small event at a grocery store next to Hill Air Force Base. So my dear friend, Darren Coons at Associated Foods called and said, hey, Katie, do you want to do this? He says, I know you're military.
Kenson Roy is very near the base.
Yep. We're just, a mile down the road. Would you think about doing this? And I'm like, sure. What is it involved? And he's like, you don't have to do anything. I'm going to introduce you to them. They're going to give a bag of groceries and a gift card. So I went to our CEO, John Fossen, and I said, hey, what do you think? And he's like, yeah, we'll do this. Let's just try it. Small level. Okay. We gave a bag of groceries and a gift card to 50 families. That day changed my life because I was standing there as a military wife, and it was in the midst of COVID, and I'm seeing these families come through, and I'm already knowing the struggles that they're going through as being a military spouse, right? So they're driving through, and they're grateful for one bag of groceries and a gift card. And I'm like, we're in the grocery business. What are we doing? So John comes in, and he looks at the whole event, and he says, what are you thinking? And I said, I'm thinking that we have more people that want to be involved in this. And he says, wow. I think you're right. So the next year, John and I said, okay, let's reach out to some of our partners. And it's transformed. We've had 10 events in 3.5 years. And like Jenny said, sometimes people want to give, they just don't know how. Mm-hmm. Well, we had 28
Katie
vendors.
gives them opportunities to give.
Yes.
Yeah.
We've given
It's not
them
a bag of groceries anymore.
No, we had 28 vendors in May. It's one of the largest events that Operation Homefront has in the whole United States on the capacity of giving. And we put 12 bags of groceries in every family's car. We put 10 cases of beverages in every family's car. We cooked them an incredible home cooked meal. But then not only that, we showered them. For 4 incredible hours, these families had Chobani that flew in from all over the U.S., cheering them on. These families would drive in with their cars open, and they were getting cheered on and clapped and thanked for their service. Actually, every stop that they got stopped, volunteers fight to come to this event because they come in and they were like, thank you, thank you, thank you. The Jazz Bear, that man, he just jumped in the car and was engaging with kids and handing out
So I'm going to jump in
things.
really fast and describe this to you, and then we'll share some photos and videos that Kellyanne can share, because you've got to picture this massive parking lot. Like, you've all been to a grocery store, right? So a parking lot in a grocery store is fairly large. And so the vehicles come in and they check in, and they're told, hey, if you have an SUV or a truck, bring it. And if you have a car with a regular size trunk, you better make sure it's empty because we're going to fill it. And then the cars drive down one direction and back the other direction, stopping like every 10 feet at a new vendor that's going to give you bakery products or dairy products or Procter & Gamble household goods products. Like she mentioned, the beverages and sodas and juices. And so you're driving along while all of these employees from these different corporate America companies are cheering for the military. Like she said, it's so beautiful because in addition to the financial assistance that they get, we estimated at least $500 to $600 worth of groceries to each family. And how many families this time?
We did 430 families.
So remember, it was 50 the first time with one bag of groceries. This is now over 400 with.
But a very different concept too. You opened it up to the vendors to come in and contribute.
That's where she's
space
Absolutely.
rather than Kent Market, a small owner doing this in a very small way, which, his margins are a lot smaller, right?
Right. Yes.
And so this is huge.
Well,
this
and
is
it's
amazing.
a legacy, right?
It's leveraging. It's leveraging those resources that Katie is. She works in the marketing side of the grocery world. And can you tell us for a second, what does the conversation go, for example, with Chobani or Hermel or any of the other vendors? How hard is it to get them to participate?
I mean, I think it's not a matter of how hard it is. It's a matter of telling the story and the vision and the why. So Kent's why, you have to have a why. My why has been the day since my husband put on the uniform. I do what I do because, and I get emotional about this, I am so grateful for the freedoms that I have because of my incredible husband. He didn't have to wear that uniform. He doesn't have to wear that uniform. He's worn it for 21 years and he continues to wear it. And he goes off and he leaves his family. I mean, London was 4 weeks old when he left to go to Korea. And he didn't have to do that. He left and he missed the first 5 months of her life. And he does that because he loves his country and he gives us the freedoms we have. So did your husband. So does every other less than 1% of the American population serves. Less than 1%. Can you wrap your mind around that? Because I can't. And I look at all these humans and they put their lives aside to give us what we have. And that is why I do this, because they don't have to. They absolutely don't have to, but they do.
They choose to.
They
It
choose
is
to
really
because
amazing to hear it's less than 1% that serves. Both my grandparents served. My grandmother served as a civilian in
I love
World War II. Kind of a Rosie the Riveter kind of situation. And so it's weird for me because even though I'm a civilian person, my dad didn't serve. My dad missed Vietnam by virtue of having two daughters be born. It's not been my life, although it seems like it's around me.
Right.
So
it's not that distant.
It seems to me like it would be a bigger number than 1% of the population.
Even if you factor in all living veterans who have served, it's less than 8%.
That is amazing to me.
And less than 1% currently.
every one of those persons are incredible humans, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And then you think about it on top of that. Then you have the families, because it's the family that serves too, right? They keep the family home. They keep it going because the member is serving, but the family's got to keep life together at home. They've got to have the resilience, or the member's not going to want to continue to serve.
Right.
So
and a lot don't.
And a lot don't. I have to admit, my sister married her husband and then they got into the military. And I watched that whole thing and I thought to myself, I never want to marry anyone that's in the military. I'm not that kind of a person. I want my person to be around.
Yeah.
And like I seen him gone for basic training, come back and be deployed, like the constant, here he is and now they're gone, was like traumatic for me to just watch my sister deal with it. My sister loved it. It worked for her. You know, he is now passed and has been gone for, I think, 17 years now. She's never remarried. So it's like there is a type of person.
There's a type that will join and there's a type that will marry it, for sure.
Right. If you would have asked me in 2003, though, before I married him in 2006, if you would have told me, I guess not asked, but told me what I was going to encounter in 21 years, I probably may have
Run
bowed
away?
out or ran away.
Well, I'm curious what you think. Do you think that maybe part of the problem and the need for this resilience is there is a type of person willing to be that spouse and be that key partner? Or do you think that sometimes it is a process for that person to get there? They can become that.
I think that's it's both. It's the both, and it's also the latter. Like you have to. I've met some incredible women and men as well, and I think that you find your strength, but you also find your strength amongst each other, and then you have to find your purpose, right? And then you have your children that engage. I mean, I think it's really important. Our children are involved in everything that we do, because I was raised in a home of service. My parents did every charity food bank that our church did, everything like that, because I was engaged in that. And so I always thought that service was important in general for my children. But I mean, my daughter is the first one to raise her hand and say, I want to skip school today because I want to put groceries in a car. If she can't, like 2 years ago, she was utterly ill. She did whatever she could to make sure she was better by the last 2 hours because she didn't want to miss it.
Wow.
It's such a joy. And I think my favorite comments, like I got all these, there was over 200 positive comments that came back from this event from all these military families. And you know what the biggest thing, like they appreciated the groceries, they appreciated the help, right? That is some of the key points that they appreciated. But you know what, more than anything, they appreciated the fact that their community sees them and they value them. Because a lot of people say, we do love our military, we love our military. But in a time, at different times, we struggle with showing it, I think, because if we're not in a time of war, we show it differently. And so this is a great way as well for vendors and community partners to come together and say, we see you, we value you, we love you, thank you.
And that's what I love about when I asked, how hard is it to get Coke on board or any of these vendors. When you tell the story, they don't just show up with the bare minimum. They show up with abundance because you've provided for them an opportunity to say, thank you for your service and do something with that, right? And I think a lot of America is looking for that. We want to show our gratitude. We just don't know how. So you've created this food opportunity that's now grown to, hundreds of thousands of dollars and hundreds of lives impacted more than once a year. Talk a little bit about the baby shower that you and Operation Homefront do, because I had the chance to join you with that just shortly before the Christmas holiday last year, and it was remarkable.
So I don't know how to do anything small by any means, but I wanted to showcase 75 moms of a dream baby shower, military moms. I remember both of my children born into the military. I never had a baby shower. I had friends that threw baby showers. My mother-in-law threw me a baby shower for my first one all the way up in Idaho, but I didn't have the local baby showers. And so I wanted to do something, but I didn't want it to be small. So Operation Homefront came to us and said, yes, you can do this, but here's the parameters.
And they call it Star Spangled Baby.
Star Spangled Baby. And I said, well, I want it to be more, right? I think I wanted to actually, I think I took it on personally and said, what kind of a baby shower would I want? And that's what I wanted to give these moms. I have to say, we ended up with some incredible partners. Minky Couture, I can't thank them enough. They gave every mom a infant baby blanket.
And they're beautiful, luxurious. And that was, everyone was so happy with that. They gave us a variety of fabrics and styles and colors for gender neutral, for the boy, for the girl. Michelle has hers in
size. It's usually on my lap.
It's her little lap blanket.
Yeah. I love it for the studio because it's freezing.
Every mom got to choose. Yeah. So 75 expectant women who are either married to or partners with military members. Some of them were what the military calls dual membership, to where the husband and the wife are both in the military. So we had some of the women giving birth were the service member themselves. Some were married to it or partnered to it. 75 pregnant women came into a beautiful luncheon. They got a Minky and...
Oh, they got a basket full of beautiful goodies from... anywhere from Huggies. I mean, I can't thank Kimberly Clark locally. They supplied Huggies diapers and wipes to every family. And then Kent's worked with several of our other partners, as well as members of the community.
Leveraging the companies you work with as vendors to your grocery store and saying, hey, you want to help? Because I bet you do. I bet you do.
Well, and then I have to shout out to our communities, the Tremont community, the Brigham City community, the Plain City community, and the Roy community. They actually helped us raise quite a bit of money to shower these families with, which was incredible. We said, we want to give these military families a dream baby shower, and they contributed as well. So that's what made the event even bigger, because we could buy more
baby
items,
clothes,
for all these
baby bottles, binkies, bibs. I'm trying to remember what all was in there. We packed
books,
bottle you spent hours and hours packing the baskets. In addition to the diapers and wipes didn't fit in the basket because it was a case of each. They could choose between
Premium gift. So we raised enough money that they got to pick between one of 4 premium gifts. They could get those new things, which I wish they would have had when we had babies, the giant playpens that you could set up to keep your kids contained. You could get a pack and play. You could get a baby monitor or a high chair. And then we tried to put in the things. I was talking to other military moms about the different things that you always think of that you don't have. So we made sure that every mom got a humidifier, because maybe you don't need a humidifier right away, but when your baby gets the sniffles,
some point you're going to wish you had one.
Yep. So we made sure every family had a humidifier, all the different pieces, and they were amazed by it. But the best part is I want to talk about, we had a lunch, and then we also had keynote speakers.
She had an entire program so that it was, again, it's sorry to interrupt, but I just want to make sure we're bragging on you enough. It's one thing to help with the financial need and say, hey, these expectant mothers or these families facing food insecurity, they need a bassinet or they need groceries. That's money in the bank that they can keep and not have to spend. But it's the sense of community that these events create that lasts far longer than the groceries or the diapers that are consumed, right? And you brought these women together. Many of them don't even know each other, even within the military community. We do. I mean, I don't even know who all the National Guard wives are in my community. And sometimes we're guilty of, we're very resilient and kind of stay to ourselves. But you brought these women together. She set it up as if it were a wedding reception. I kid you not. It was beautiful. It wasn't, here's your chicken salad from Costco. No offense to Costco. I love chicken salad from Costco. She had a full catered meal. She had all kinds of desserts and treats. She had the baby cake. These women got to sit at tables. In fact, we said, don't come, dads. She wanted the women to bond with each other.
I love
so that
this.
6 weeks or 6 months from now, when each of them gives birth, they know, hey, all of these women live within driving distance of me. I can call them because guess what? My partner might be deployed when this baby comes or shortly before or after.
I think that was the one thing to me is that I went back to the times when I had children and I was like, I may have not met all these spouses. Like you get a list of other spouses, but you may not know who they are. And I was trying to think of this. So we actually uninvited the husbands, which we did have a few husbands come. So they got to sit at the back table, which was fantastic. And they got to bond together.
Sit by each other.
But we had them all sit together and interact together and share
some
their
icebreaker
contacts.
Games to really build connection.
So that they could build that relationship. Because what we said to them was that we want you to have that person that you can develop a relationship with that understands you. When you've got a baby in the middle of the night that has got an earache at 1 o'clock in the morning and you need somebody to talk to and nobody gets it and dad's gone, they can engage. And I think that was the thing. And then also knowing that they are stronger in numbers. We are stronger in numbers, that we are all in this together. We brought 2 incredible speakers together. So
I
Jenny
couldn't believe he found 75 pregnant military women within driving distance of Hill Air Force Base. I'm like, oh my gosh, we're everywhere.
After the show's over,
Forget
we're going to talk
1%,
about
they're everywhere.
some more of this. My mind's exploding with ideas for you, but
Jenny came in and talked, and then we also had Colonel Federer. And the big thing that I wanted to do to showcase...
A female military colonel.
Yes, that has had children. She's raised children in the military, and she was in the reserves, so serving at the same time. So I wanted to showcase 2 amazing women that our women could relate to and also find resilience. And that's what we talked about. We talked about resiliency, and it was interesting. The comments from all the moms that came back said they loved all the gifts. They loved the event and the atmosphere, but more than anything, they loved that they could relate to their speakers, that their speakers saw them, valued them. Because again, a lot of the time it's always about the military member, and we forget about those spouses that we understand, relate to them, see them, engage with them. And so Jenny was able to share some
to feel seen. Yeah.
Incredible experiences and stories of raising children in the military. I was able to do that. And so was Colonel Federer. And she was actually, I loved that Colonel Federer.
She was phenomenal. She was so good.
She brought in the aspect of what a commander looks at and says, we see you, we want you, we value you. And I think sometimes, a lot of the time, we don't always hear that as spouses from the commanders because the commanders are engaging with their member.
Right.
So it was incredible to bring in
Makes sense, right?
A female leader that could say, hey, I've been there and I want you to know that here we care about you. We love you. We support you. And I think that was huge because, again,
it was huge. When you could see it in their eyes. You could see it in their eyes to feel that validation.
Yeah. And again, the positive comments.
I mean, even for you hearing it, I mean, you're kind of in a whole different level.
Sitting with her, I loved it. I was like, this, you know what it made me feel? It made me feel proud to be a military spouse. Mm-hmm. And that's what I love. And I've told Katie this before. And just for the record, I was very careful in what I shared. We did not touch on the fact that my military service member is deceased, because that is not what these pregnant women needed to hear. I was able to share experiences, highs and lows, of being pregnant and giving birth and having a deployed father of these kids. And as we all talked, it's easy to get caught up in how hard it is, whether living or deceased. I've been to ceremonies for the living. I've been to ceremonies for the deceased. And too often I leave weighed down. The statistics of how rare we are, the statistics of how hard it is, 22 a day are dying by suicide. Pretty soon you just feel like, why have I chosen this, or how did I get stuck here? And that was not the emotion of Katie's event and Operation Homefront. The emotion was, I'm proud to give birth to a baby who's the child of an American military member. I'm proud to be an American. I'm proud to serve and to give. I'm even proud to sacrifice. And these women left wanting to give and do and be part of what otherwise is difficult. Like, we're not going to sugarcoat it. You could talk to Katie and I for a while. We're both going to tell you a million stories of how hard it is to be a military spouse. Michelle, you yourself said, I'm probably not going to choose that path. I look at it and say, I met Brent before he joined. So I guess I could have had an out and said, see ya, but it was from the very beginning. You and Cliff too, from the very beginning. My heart really goes out to people who marry into it. Maybe someone's been in the service 5, 6, 7 years, and then a partner comes along and you've really got to choose, are you in for that or not? But that event and the food event as well, the way Katie has structured this, again, the financial gift is wonderful, but the sense of validation and community is inspiring and motivating, to where these families, whether they just got a car full of groceries or a basket full of baby goods, they leave with their head held high. And I believe that sense of pride and energy among the spouse enables a more capable, mission-focused military member. And so that's where Katie, not only, and this will make me emotional because I just love you so much, not only are you giving to the families who are on the home front, you are strengthening the service member wherever he or she is by making their family stronger. So I love you for that. And everybody listening, we will let you know the next time there is a Meals for the Military or Star Spangled Baby Shower, because like I said, you're going to want to be on Team Katie. And it gets bigger and brighter and every time, and you will just be blown away by the good that's being done, but you'll want to be a part of it, because that's the beauty of the gift Katie has. She'll leverage the friendships or the professional connections she has, not in a way that's self-serving, but in a way that reaches the people in need. And then everyone feels like they just won the lottery. The Chobani people were so happy to give away yogurt. They were giving away thousands of dollars of yogurt.
That is my favorite yogurt.
Cheering.
So I feel like I'm eating the right yogurt.
We love Minky and Chobani. They were phenomenal. And as Katie said, their employees at their senior levels across the country really competed for who got to come to northern Utah to work with this woman named Katie at a grocery store called Kent's. I mean, Kent's Cares is phenomenal. You're amazing. I love you. And thanks to Cliff for supporting you as you try to support him, because you're gone and deployed as much as he is. You're just in different parts of the country. So,
well, I can't thank you enough. I love you. I think I love being able to engage. Somebody said the other day, what is my legacy? My legacy is to spread resilience out there. If I can engage or get somebody to jump on board to take and expand this somewhere else, I think that's the best part about this event. Coke is now, they are a national sponsor, but then like every branch is different, right? So you have, I'll tell you, the Coca-Cola Swire group here in Utah is absolutely incredible. I can't thank them enough for everything that they do. They are huge partners of Kent's Market. But now they've taken this and they've engaged so much that they help other events outside of Utah. I'm excited that Chobani does the same thing. We just brought down, so we added a fresh piece this year. We added fresh produce. So the one thing that I try to do is I always listen to military families when they give feedback, and they asked for a fresh, like the fresh aspect. So we added a 10-pound bag of onions, a 10-pound bag of potatoes, a 10-pound bag of oranges, and then a 10-pound bag of apples.
Straight from Washington State.
CMI Orchards from Washington State drove a semi-truck down from Washington.
Oh, wow.
Full of apples to hand out to every family and say thank you and engage with them. And they are an incredible company, and they have a whole veteran program donated to giving back and taking care of military families and military members, current and past. but it was an engagement that wants to go further. And my legacy is saying, how do you take this to the next level? How do you find your why or take your why or passion and give it back? If it's not to the military, it's to somebody else where you say, I want to do something. How do I do more? I think that's the best part. My favorite part is doing something and doing more. I think sitting on the board for the Major Brent Taylor Foundation, I love talking about BT5 and the flag missions where somebody says, I want to give back, but I don't know how. Go carry a flag in a parade. That starts you somewhere. The BT5 conference has changed my life forever for the fact that I want every child to attend because it takes it to the next level of patriotism and leadership and communication where it's lost. I want to share that mission because I think if we start somewhere, it can grow into something so much more. I mean, I've got 2 people that said, hey, I live in a different state that actually used to come to our events and they PCS'd out. And they contacted me and said, how do I take this event and grow it in a different state? Then that's where we've started, right?
That's beautiful, Katie.
We've grown it to something.
I love this.
If everybody starts somewhere, could you imagine what we could do with the world? So there's my legacy. My legacy is to
I love it. I love it.
share
I love
and give
it.
back, obviously, to the military, Operation Homefront. I love expanding their why and their vision. They help so many families each and every day. I can't thank enough. They have an incredible Military Child of the Year program that is absolutely incredible, a scholarship of recognizing one military child of each branch every year for their extraordinary. If you ever want to see something incredible, I will tell you, go on to operationhomefront.org and read about Military Child of the Year. I want to be those children. I want to be the uniqueness of those incredible children. Talk about resilience.
Yeah.
They have overcome and encounter everything. So I think those are 2 incredible organizations I couldn't shout
Katie,
about enough.
I wish we had hours and hours more because you are phenomenal. I love what you said, that your definition of resilience or your desire of resilience is to help other people be resilient. What if that were all of our goal? I want to be resilient so I can help someone else be resilient. We're going to close this up because we're out of time, but I am not going to get this out of here without letting everyone know Katie was also the Operation Homefront Volunteer of the Year nationwide. She's touting those amazing children that she admires. They have a wonderful role model in you, Katie. So everybody look them up. Operation Homefront. Look up Kent Cares. Go to the grocery store if you live anywhere near the Kent's Market. And just know that if you want to do more, all you got to do is ask and start. You might think you're starting small and just watch out because karma or what God, destiny, whatever you call it, there's ways when you have a willing desire to make a difference, ways will open up for you. So Katie, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.
Thank you to our listeners for being here. We hope as you've listened, you've been inspired to want to do more in whatever sphere you want to do more in and get to work. We also hope you'll be willing to maybe share some of your life story and how you've developed resilience with us. You can find us on social media, either on Facebook or Instagram, Relentlessly Resilient and Relentlessly Resilient Podcast. Michelle has set up this really cool calendar link. You just click on it. You can schedule a quick phone call with her to discuss what you might share on the show here. You don't have to be local to the Salt Lake Valley. You can record in person, but we can also record remotely. Huge shout out to our producer, Kellyanne Halverson, our amazing sponsor, Minky, and those beautiful blankets they gave to all of those expectant mothers and so many other people down on their luck and facing hardship. And thanks to KSL for letting us use their studio space yet again.
And remember, whatever you do today, remember to be kind. You have no idea the struggles other people are dealing with in their lives. Have a great day.